Hey guys, today I'll give you the comic book origins of the Juggernaut. Juggernaut is one of the fiercest enemies of the X-Men, and one of the strongest characters in Marvel. Juggernaut's been seen in multiple different forms of media, obviously starting in the comics, and also making his way into the cartoons, video games, and into the movies. We've seen him in cartoons such as the X-Men animated series way back in the 90s, in X-Men Evolution, ranging from 2000 to 2003, and he made his first movie appearance in X-Men 3, The Last Stand. But he also made another appearance in the movies in Deadpool 2, which I think that one is much better, to be honest. But his origins actually started when he was a little boy. It turns out that he is the stepbrother to one Charles Xavier, Professor X. If you saw my video of Professor X, you would already know this. His origins start when he was a little boy, when his father married the recently widowed mother of Professor Xavier, because his father, Brian Xavier, had died in an unfortunate bomb experiment. Already being a horrid little shit, he began lashing out and being spiteful to his stepbrother Charles. This was because of the poor treatment and vile behavior his father had expressed towards him. One day, starting a fire in his father's lab out of pure hatred, he witnessed an act of compassion when his father carried him and Charles out of the fire. But at that time, he'd also thought that his father loved Charles more than he loved him. After this, Kane and Charles enlisted into the US Army, where they had to fight together against Korea. Kane had run away from Charles into a cave, forcing Charles to run after him. In the cave, Kane came across an ancient temple with a pedestal where a red gem rested on it. Touching it, he chanted ancient words which transformed him. "Leave this world and leave behind in me a human juggernaut." It was at that point in his transformation that the cave started to come down, and Charles had to escape, but it left him paralyzed by the waist down. Being trapped underground for several years, Kane eventually got free, and when he finally came across Charles, it turns out that he doesn't need oxygen or food to survive anymore, and it was his hatred that kept him going. When he came across Charles next, he found him in a wheelchair as the already paralyzed Professor X. Easily making his way through the defenses of the X-Mansion and disabling the X-Men one by one, he made his way to Charles, where even his powers weren't able to stop him. When Charles was a boy, his mutation had already manifested and helped him go forward in school. Finding out he was a mutant, Kane lashed out and started displaying spiteful and aggressive behavior towards him, even going so far as to destroy his trophy case. Little bastard. But eventually Charles was able to defeat Kane when his helmet was removed by the X-Men Angel, allowing Charles to act on it, using his powers to disable him. He kept Kane locked underground in a special facility until he was able to permanently stop him. On one of his experiments, it actually ended up freeing him and he escaped. But he would return several times to try and kill Charles and be rid of him and the X-Men. But what makes him so deadly is his unwillingness to stop, and the fact he has joined forces with several other evil mutants, even joining Magneto's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Now, the Juggernaut isn't a mutant. In fact, he doesn't have any mutation whatsoever, and it's purely powered by magic. That's it for Juggernaut, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe and comment what you think down below, and I'll come back next week to give you more origins. See you.